The APC presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been on his toes, traversing the length and breadth of the country since the new year began. Within the week, he took his presidential campaign to Edo State, where he bashed former President Olusegun Obasanjo for endorsing Labour Party's Peter Obi and alluded that the former president is not necessarily someone who can show the way, as is the case of a blind man leading another blind man. It didn't end at that. Tinubu also made a promise of job creation for youths, but has been hugely criticized over his quote, Yahoo Yahoo Boys statement, where he promised to transform them to IT engineers and all of that. He was also criticized for speaking in a language that his supporters could hardly decipher, especially on social media. And the APC presidential candidate also held a town hall meeting for young people in Abuja on Friday, where he promised job creation. Let's listen to him.
They don't know how to think and perform. I know it. I did it in Lagos. And I will do it for Nigeria. Rich boys under the bridge, they became workers. They became artisans. They are performing, turn the place to a landscape. This is no Ishewu or Biapalo talk. This is a concrete plan that we have. This is an assured hope for all of you. You are young, you are strong, you are intelligent, and your support is the key to unlocking the economic prosperity and progress of our nation.
Well, joining me in the studio to help us unpack all of this are Professor Adibe Adibe, lecturer with the Department of Political Science and International Relations at the Nasarawa State University, and also have with us here Alwan Hassan, who is a public affairs commentator and member of the All Progressives Congress. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, let me just give you, Alwan, the first shot here. I mean, this is your party's presidential flag bearer. It's been going around, preaching the message of renewed hope and his chances and that of the APC. But I mean, when you see things being written about him and some of the messages he's tried to put out, let's begin from Edo State. I mean, a lot of people say, why of all things will he be focusing on the issues of Yahoo Yahoo Boys? I mean, the criticism is that is he almost everyone who's into internet fraudster among young people in Edo State? And of course, you also listened to him while he was speaking with young people in Abuja just on Friday, promising them that, look, they are capable of being given jobs and all of that. He will include them in his government. What's been your perspective so far?
So thank you so much for having me, Samna. People misinterpret a lot of things, as Waju says, and just like Buhari, even if he brings on a brilliant idea, people always come in to criticize him. I understand what he means. Samna, if you have had an opportunity to speak to graduates of IT, fresh graduates from university, a lot of them struggle to speak about on advanced IT, especially when you talk of some of them don't even know robotics. They find it very difficult on algorithms, But these boys that haven't been to school, when you see them on computers and when they now apply their talents, you find out that they are even more brilliant. They know the information technology thing more than the ones that have passed through school learning. Yes. So basically, what Asiwaju is saying is, let's put this productive talent into Nigeria's eco system. You understand? So basically, that's what Asiwaju is saying. We shouldn't make them waste their talents. Let's now bring them into Nigeria's ecosystem.
All right, and I come to you, Prof. I mean, he has explained. I had to give him that opportunity to help us understand what the candidate was saying. I mean, you would have seen lots of things being written about the candidate, and some people trying to lambast him for that comment, saying that, look, the focus should have been on what are the big wins that he hopes to provide for such a state. And then, of course, the resort to this IT and then reforming Yahoo boys and all of that, which is being given focus. Apart from that, several things were said. And then, of course, the other criticism was I was speaking a language that no one understands. But I mean, at the meeting with the young people on Friday, I mean, that looked much more better than what happened in Edo State. But help us understand what this candidate is trying to say to Nigerians.
I think I agree substantially with my brother here. I think the problem essentially stemmed from overprotection. Initially, he was so much overprotected and they didn't want him to speak, creating the impression in the mind of so many people there was something to hide. They raised question of his health, his question of articulation. He probably is not the best in terms of public speaking. But when he went to Chatham House, yes, he outsourced questions, but for me, one thing came out good, that he was able to pronounce the words very distinctly and very well most of the time. So because that has become the expectation, there's what we call self-fulfilling prophecy. So people are now looking out for those flaws, and I think his
especially
mind,
the gaffes.
Yes, those flaws and gaps, and his minders. If I were them, you should focus on preparing him for these presentations rather than trying to engage in media warfare with one station or the other. Well, in fact, when they did that, people came to the conclusion that it was a tactic for them to avoid future invitation to debates. Because from what we've seen so far, he has probably more energy level than we're able to give him credit for initially. He's been moving around. So why were they protecting him? Why they were just covering so many things up? All they needed to do was just to prepare him. And as a presidential candidate, any question you will be asked, there are questions you can easily anticipate. And in campaigns, you answer in poetry, as they say. So I think it was a function
you answer in poetry, but when it comes to governance, you govern in prose.
In prose, that's where we start to look for the commas and all those things.
And all of that.
That was Cuomo's position. So I think I have to blame the handlers for that. And then, of course, prepare him properly. Let him stick to the script. And then just as they prepared him to pronounce the words very distinctly, because if you know you have some speech issues, you just like if you stammer, then they teach you how to pronounce some words. And this is not something for anybody to be shy about. You just have to overcome that kind of handicap. And he has to show that, he's able to do that. I actually earlier said that in future debates, this is an opportunity for him to show himself. Because he's not as bad as people make him to be. He
shouldn't continue to remain in the closet.
Yes, for as long as they try to, protect him too much, you give room for people to fill in the gaps.
All right, and that's what's been bringing the fear. I mean, a lot of people are afraid that there may be a proxy presidency if the APC eventually wins. But let's talk about some of the things he also said. I mean, he tried to hit back at Olusegun Obasanjo, the former president of Nigeria, for endorsing the Labour Party's Peter Obi, saying that, look, someone who doesn't know the way cannot show the way, saying that Obasanjo is more of like a blind man trying to lead another blind man, and then trying to say categorically that he, under his own administration as Lagos State governor, was denied some local government funds by former President Olusegun Obasanjo, and that he couldn't have been a Democrat. I mean, what do you make out of all of those things? I mean,
not he. I don't see Asiwaju as governor of Lagos denied funds. I see Obasanjo denied civil servants that had families that could have been, children could have been out of school, that couldn't feed because of politics. A lot of them were not even ACN. Do you understand? This man is not, he should just retire. You see, I really don't want to speak much about him because of his age, but he should just retire and go and sleep. Someone that had the opportunity as an infant democracy to strengthen our institutions. He ended up individualizing the institutions. He corrupted the National Assembly. It was during Obasanjo that we saw cash on the floor of the National Assembly being bribed by Obasanjo.
Well, he accused
it was during the same Obasanjo.
It
was the same Obasanjo's era that a report from the United States of America came out that between 2000 to 2008, that Atiku and his wife Jennifer laundered $40 million to the United States of America.
Well, he was
the
open
same
enough
Obasanjo
to actually
was
hand
president.
over that.
But the same Obasanjo was president, and he's now calling
investigation.
another government corrupt. It's the same Obasanjo's government that $16 billion was budgeted, $1 billion was budgeted for power, and we couldn't even see anything that is on ground. Like the way this government in 7 years had to speak between government to Siemens, and there is a proper foundation going on us getting power. And what this country needs, Samna, let me tell you, what Nigeria needs. This is a proud country. I'm proud of my country. We've done a lot as an APC government. What this government...
Well, a lot of Nigerians would disagree with
I can take you through. I can take you through the things we have done.
The APC hasn't fulfilled half of its promises.
We had challenges. Of course, we had challenges. And those challenges were natural challenges, were not made by our government. When we came in 2015, if you remember, we found an empty treasury. Jonathan and PDP stole all the monies.
Well,
we came in with an empty treasury. A few months later,
prosecuted some of the government officials, and many of them are still working.
But how many can you prosecute, Samna? If you want to prosecute corrupt individuals in this country, everything will be on hold because everybody is involved. After a few months we came in, the Niger Delta restiveness started. This same government, the National Economic Council, chaired by the Vice President, Professor Obasanjo, came up with the Niger Delta initiative, which quelled the restiveness of Niger Delta. We now started producing 2 million barrels. We were producing 1 million, and oil in the international market price dropped significantly. So there was no way this government could do anything. That is one. Secondly, before we took ourselves out of that restiveness of Niger Delta, global recession came. Is it the making of APC or the Nigerian government? When the global recession came, this government came up with policies that exited Nigeria as one of the countries that exited global recession. And what are these policies? The ESP, the Economic Sustainability Program, by the National Economic Council, exited Nigeria as one of the first countries to come out of recession. How do you do that?
All right.
There are a lot of things to talk about.
I will ask you to hold on there. Let's go on this break. And when we come back, I will be asking Prof for his reaction on what exactly the APC is trying to sell to Nigerians better than what it has offered in the last 7.5 years. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching This Week, and of course, we're still taking a review at what the APC presidential candidate has been telling Nigerians, especially young people, in the past few days. And of course, I still have with me here Professor Adibe of the Nasarawa State University, and of course, Alwan Hassan, who is a member of the All Progressives Congress. So, Professor Adibe, let's talk about this same message that the candidate of the APC is trying to push. I mean, they are just shifting blames and saying that, look, we could have done better, the economic challenges here and there, but young people still trust us with your vote. We are going to bring a better Nigeria in the next 4 years, if you allow us. Is this message resonating with a lot of Nigerians, considering what APC has done in the last 7.5 years?
Well, this is a political season, and politicians talk in absolutes. You are either too good or too bad. And if you want to do scientific analysis, you have to, first of all, identify the metrics for comparison. If you say you want to compare on GDP, on unemployment, the metrics must be stated a priori so that you are comparing likes for likes. But otherwise, it will just be going forth and forth, like who owned the Lagos, who built Lagos.
And all of that, yeah.
So let me just say one thing about the Obasanjo's letter. I think most people have not read that. 6 pages, I think it's only one paragraph that was devoted to endorsement. And it was very, very close to Steve Biko's letter in Message on Black Consciousness. Just calling on youth people, say, please put the past behind. Do not inherit your father's enmities, which are very positive things to say. I mean, he understands the mood, and it is very unfair, to just go and castigate Obasanjo. He has been an active person from day one. He, at the age of over 80, got a PhD. He's the only head of state we know since the First Republic who's been able to write. He writes. Even Babangida, as very much enamored as he is with ideas, never put anything on paper. So
yeah,
this
except
is
the book written for him by, I think, Dan Agbese.
which of my firm published anyway.
Yeah, I remember.
So I'm talking about his own work. So this is a man that has been very active. And the same thing that the APC people are praising Bola Tinubu for, that he mentors people, he nurtures who is going. That's exactly what he has been doing, taking interest. Even when Babangida was there, he exchanged a lot of public letters. I was still living in Denmark when Abacha was there. He was coming from a conference in Denmark where they were advising not to go back. And he went. So this is a man.
Remember, I mean,
so
he insisted that he was going to come to Nigeria.
I was living in Denmark. There is not somebody told me. So it's a man who has been active. So for Obasanjo, his style is not to sit on fence. And look at the kind of book he wrote on Nzogu. Very few people will be courageous to do it. He does his own things based on principle. Sometimes he rubs negatively on even people who like him. He just takes his own. So the idea that he should go and stay back just because others don't want to be criticized, I don't think I will buy that. I think most of us will like, if we get to his age, to be as active as he is.
Yeah, and it looks like the governing party has actually been picking from some content of that letter. Because throughout this Outgoing week, I've seen them talking more to the young people, just like Obasanjo has said. Look, the young people will decide who will win.
I'm coming. I from the beginning, I'm coming.
Okay, well, let's just allow him to answer that.
You see, the fact is that I regard Garuba Shehu and Deshino as my friends, and they are fine journalists. But I completely disagree with their adversarial mode of engagement. I disagree with their cantankerous mode of engagement. Because there was no need for that kind of headline of a former head of state. And it rubs off on the wrong side of many people.
We actually want to come to that later.
And it is also wrong. It is also wrong, in my own opinion, to judge any weather only by its inclement side. You don't judge any weather because it's only winter or because you judge it on balance.
But can we absorb Obasanjo from the challenges of this government, which he outlined in his letter, since he also endorsed President Buhari in 2015, because he had told us clearly that Buhari is not going to be good on economy, but he will be good in terms of security, and then foreign policy, he will try his best.
I will not want to defend him, but he's a guy, a man, despite what Ijomo Ogugu, one of this is called his lack of finesse. It's a man you cannot just dismiss. He says his mind, and you have to listen. And people who are talking, his words resonate across the country. If you look at the kind of decisions he has taken, like for example, he endorsed Buhari, even though he said he was not strong on the economy. And you have to understand the context of that endorsement, that he didn't want Jonathan to continue. Some people argue, and we don't know if it is true, that the reason he was actually opposed to Jonathan was that he said, look, finish Oyaradua's term, do one term and go home. And that he reneged on that. That's what we hear on the street. We are not privy to that. What I'm trying to say is that it is very, very wrong, in my own opinion, for people to just assess somebody from your weaknesses. When you say people here,
I think you are talking about the governing party. Let's talk about it, Alwan. I mean, it looks like your party actually started rearranging itself, focusing more on messages targeting at youths after the Obasanjo's letter. Because throughout the week, I've seen APC doing lots of youth activities, although I know that of the Friday event was already scheduled even before Obasanjo's letter. But Obasanjo is asking young people to take back their country. Is it from APC's failures?
How come he didn't give the young people when he was leaving? How come he chose from all the governors that were there, from all the people, 200 million people, he chose a sick person?
Well, the things that Yaradua
he knew he was
Jonathan.
We remember when he was calling him.
Sorry, I just have to chip that in. Yaradua and Jonathan were deemed to be quote young.
And let me tell you why he didn't want. Let me tell you why Obasanjo didn't want Jonathan. At some point, Jonathan stopped listening to him. In his letter, what he says, what he said about Obi is, this is someone that some people outside can draw his ears. Obasanjo wants to be in power. He wants to control the president. It is not done that way. You've had your time. You were president in the 70s. You were president in 1999 to 2007. For God's sake, just pass your advice like IBB and co are doing.
Well, people say he's the president.
You just write and hit the polity. So even when you say the spokespeople of the president replies him, that is their mandate. They couldn't have just kept quiet when someone came in to hit the polity with lies. You can't tell me that Buhari's government is more corrupt than Obasanjo's government. You cannot tell me that Obasanjo did a lot of things we did in this government. We've done better than any government.
Well, Nigerians are saying you haven't done so much.
But Kano has shown you. But Kano rally has shown you that the people of Kano want APC to come back. They are happy with us.
We saw the same thing happening in 2019 election when the PDP held its rally. It was,
it was never like what we saw on Wednesday in Kano.
Yet people decided to vote.
But Kano people have told you. Kano people have told you. With the works the governor has put in place and us that were the LOCs, Kano people have told you that we are comfortable, we are happy with APC government, we want them back.
Well,
Prof, these are politicians.
No, but before I come to you, I want to talk about Bola Tinubu's message to young Nigerians. Yeah. Having met with them in Edo State, and then yesterday, he was still insisting that, look, young Nigerians will play a critical role in his government if given an opportunity.
But he has done it before.
What more can they do that
he has done it before?
It has happened in the last 7 years?
You see, Sumner, what I want us to understand is not just young people appointed. Let's not see it as a service. Appointment is a service to your country. Bola Tinubu has done it before. As a governor of Lagos State, all these people you reeled out that are his people, remove 20 years out of their ages. They were less than 40. From Professor Yemi Oshibajo to Fashola to the present governor of Lagos State today. These were his cabinet members. And all of that. Wale Edu and co. Remove 20 years from their ages. A lot of them were less than 40. So he's telling you that I want strong minds, I want young minds, I want people that think well, I want a generational thinker, I will empower you if you have it upstairs and you're willing to give service.
And you think Nigerians believe him?
We believe him. We're Nigerians. We're the majority. APC is the majority.
Well, it's left to be seen
I'm
on the
telling you, Sumner.
I think I've been seeing.
Kano is the largest democracy in this country today, with 482 councils, elected councillors, 20 House of Rep members, 40 State Assembly members, 3 senators.
Have you been seeing the projections going on? From recent polls.
But our rally has cleaned every projection, Sumner.
Well,
you saw it. We were scared when we saw that crowd. Do you understand?
Yeah, your vice presidential candidate actually said that he had never seen this sort of crowd. But how do you translate that into votes?
I grew up in Kano, but I have not seen a crowd that can be compared to Buhari's crowd in Kano like that.
Another party say you have been inducing these crowds to actually come out.
Let them induce them. We induce them with good policies of government. We induce them with good policies and good implementation, effective implementation of policies in Kano by the governor of Kano State.
All right, Prof, I come to you to just talk about that because, there's a famous cleric in the country who has said that, look, most people that are turning out at rallies are actually people who are jobless, who don't have so much to do. That those who will send the message to the ruling elite on February 25 are mostly people who are on their jobs and don't have time to go to rallies. What do you make of such
I
comments?
agree substantially with that. That rallies, there's also what they call the crowd psychology and crowd effects, because all the parties, if you are going there, you have to, transport people from one location to another.
What's called mobilization.
You have to give them something. And, the very serious-minded and working people will not bother too much with that. I'm not saying we are yet to see if big crowds, translate to this thing. What I would like to do is, if it were in a different country, you have a focus group. People you are tracking. So after each rally, you will track them. And that's what they do to say, okay, is there any kind of buzz that you've got from this? We don't have that yet. So we will rely on, look, this crowd told me and I told them. So coming to what my brother was talking about, APC and all these things in corruption, there are more corruption. You can rely on Transparency International. They publish corruption perception index. And then you can do over the years, and then you see where the government stands. The truth is that it is generally believed that the incidence of corruption is very, very high. we can disagree of whether it is because there's an improvement in the reporting system or because it is increasing. These are issues we'll scientifically...
Yeah, but I mean,
even
under Obasanjo's government, I mean, he always had a big fight with Transparency International whenever they release
it is always going
their
to
ratings.
be a problem. And also, my brother, that Obasanjo didn't do that is not enough for us to say he cannot speak. Because the point is that he did say once that if you, as Sumner, you become president of this country for 3 days, you have enough people who have committed enough crimes in your name to send you to jail. So that is not, we don't have to look at any government because of its failing. Any government, there will always be loopholes. So we have to look at, select the indices we want to compare, and I think it will be living in self-denial. But of course it's politics to say, okay, everything is going. People can easily hold you. It's a simple thing. The basket of goods we are buying yesterday, 2015, and then we do time series. And then that is the stomach infrastructure. What is responsible? There are objective data that says 133 million Nigerians have joined the poverty. These are objective things, but that's not the important thing for me. The important thing for us is somebody has brought in an idea of what we can do. And then, of course, you can do attacking and then try to solve it, or you can attack as a way of living in denial.
All right, so it sounds like you're also giving advice to the APC to actually see the best thing that they can pick from that Obasanjo's
about
letter.
The statistics of the poor people in Nigeria.
Yeah, I mean, 133 million people.
Sumner, please, I always ask people, who set these criteria? Someone living in the UK or living in America, setting a criteria of people that are poor in Nigeria. Do you know the people they are saying that are poor in Nigeria? The people they are saying that are poor in Nigeria are those ones that own lands, farm on their lands, get their food for the year and sell some to keep for themselves. Why? Because they don't make $2 in a day. That is why they call them poor. But those ones that are called rich and they see them as earning $2 every day, live on loans. They survive on loans. They died with loans. So I don't know who is setting.
The National Bureau of Statistics actually conducted this, and these are different
National Bureau of Statistics have never. Let me tell you, the MBS have never come. I have an employment list of almost 30 people in my own company, not my wife's place. My own company. We have never seen a form from the MBS to fill as these are my employees.
But they can only take sample now.
What sample is that? What sample is that? You take sample of one person and now completely disregard the rest.
Actually a national
Nobody has ever come to my office with 30 employees. Nobody has ever come to my office to say, fill this form. We want to take statistics of people that are employed in Nigeria.
They can do that when they do census.
But this is a great country. Sumner, we passed through a recession. We passed through COVID. Nobody was laid off in the civil service.
Yeah,
nobody was laid off.
The IMF gave you
nobody was laid off. Excuse me. Nobody was laid off in the public in the private sector. Banks, even banks, didn't lay off people. Our civil service said from level 12 down. This government says from level 12 down. Go home, work from home. We'll pay you salary. We don't say that out. Something just yesterday I saw on your TV, on your news, 9 o'clock I think, the National Agency for Science and Engineering, are saying Uganda is now ordering for lab materials, science materials in Nigeria. That Cameroon and Ivory Coast have done that. Nobody is saying this. Nobody wants to speak good about this country.
Well, it looks like your government is not selling itself. So
we give power to Cotonou, we give power to Benin Republic.
So who do you blame for that? If a lot of people don't know what's going on
under your own government, we sometimes blame
under your own government
because the news yesterday was just in just 3-5 minutes.
Yeah.
If the media wants, they can hype that, and everybody.
The government also owns,
but the media will not hype it. The media will not hype it. They will only hype the bad news. Come. When we burn this country, where would we go to?
Well, it's not about that. Even the government owns public broadcasts,
I don't have anywhere to
media,
go to.
newspapers,
My family,
and all of
my
that.
Parents,
but
my
look, let's just come back. It's all about the next elections.
Yes.
What exactly are you telling people about this renewed hope agenda that could make them see things differently? Are you showcasing some of these things that you've talked about to them? What's been the response of Nigerians to Bola Tinubu's agenda for Nigeria?
Aswaju's agenda is to build on the good that this government has done, has laid down, like the Siemens deal, like the AKK, like the railway from Lagos to Kano, a lot of infrastructures that are in place. What I've told you from the beginning, that what Nigeria needs today after a Buhari government is a smart president, a smart government. We're not led by one person's ideas. We're led by
you
a
think
team.
that smart person is Bola Tinubu?
Yes, Asiwaju is the smartest among all the contestants.
And what gives you that confidence? I mean, in the midst of people saying that
Look at Nigeria of today. Every person in this government that you feel is good, is capable, has capacity to deliver on whatever job he has been given. Well, a lot of them are from Asiwaju's home, like the Vice President, Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo. There has never been a Vice President like Yemi Osinbajo in Nigeria. Secondly, the best minister in this country today is Fashola.
Well,
he was a governor of Lagos.
These are all subjective views, and
there is no state. Let me tell you,
debate.
to apply this, Sumner, there is no state in Nigeria that is not undergoing the hands of Fashola in infrastructure, road infrastructure.
Well, these are all subject to Nigerians who would decide whether to give you a fresh mandate on February 25th.
But Kano has started deciding.
Well, we just have to go on the short break, and when we come back, I want to specifically look at some of the things the presidency is accusing former President Obasanjo of saying, which they say is not in consonance with what they think. And the one that's penning them is that Obasanjo said that APC has driven Nigeria into hell. So when we come back, we'll be talking about that. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching This Week, a review of the big issues during the outgoing week. And of course, it's a battle of words as President Buhari's spokesman Garba Shehu has fired back at former President Olusegun Obasanjo over his controversial letter to Nigerians on New Year's Day, criticizing the incumbent government for bringing Nigerians into hell in the past 7.5 years. The presidential aide in a statement described Obasanjo's administration as highly corrupt and added that the former president's attitude towards President Buhari was born, quote, out of frustration and was the height of selfishness and little short of, quote, moral squalor. In his response titled, quote, morally squalid Obasanjo attacks leaders out of frustration, Shehu said Obasanjo employed the word, quote, hell for the administration of any of the presidents that came after him who refused to be his puppet. And of course, I'm Sumner Sambo. We still have Professor Jide Adibe of the Department of Political Science and International Relations still here with us. He is of the Nasarawa State University. And of course, we have Alwan Hassan, who is a member of the All Progressives Congress, here to help us understand these issues. And I come to you, Prof. Looking at the rhetoric coming from the presidency in trying to get back at former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who some Nigerians have described as President Emeritus, because I mean there are only two of them that are described as unicorns who have been president twice, and then who have been heads of state once. So you have an Obasanjo doing that first, being head of state and president twice, and then President Buhari is going to be the second unicorn, having been head of state once and president twice. You can never have that again, except maybe if something happens on the way of our democratic journey. But listening to what Garba Shehu said in trying to get back at Obasanjo, what do you think is the content of that rhetoric? And was Obasanjo right to have said that this government has brought Nigerians into hell?
I think that's the general belief in the street. Although I do believe that in some areas, the government is not giving due credit. But it is often natural, especially a government that is in second term, that you are appreciated only after you've left office. So it's natural. I disagree. You know, Garba is my friend. We actually worked together once. And I disagree with that mode of communication. You can still make that point without being disrespectful, without being cantankerous. And that brings me exactly to the APC's messaging mode. You see somebody like Femi Fani-Kayode, you see when he writes, he insults people, you know, calls people imbecile and all this. And people are wondering, is that going to be the mode of communication if you win? You see Bayo Ononuga, we respected, and all you see is cantankerous, you know, mode of engagement. And people are going to respond in kind when you are cantankerous. So that's one issue I have with them. Another issue is that their messaging, the way they package Ashwaju. I give him a lot of respect for being able to spot talent, and most people give him that. But you don't come around and say, oh, he's the most experienced. People think that you over packaging him. The truth is that in terms of experience at the federal level, Tinubu is the least qualified because he does not have federal experience.
Except maybe being a senator.
Senator is not in the executive, and that's less than 3 months. You are a godfather or you've created talent, so people respect that. But when you start saying he is the most experienced, look, Kwakonso has been a minister, deputy speaker, and governor. P2B has been governor, chairman of SEC, advisor to the government, and Atiku has been vice president. And you jump and tell people, look, this is more experience. It doesn't sound believable. And you try to believe that before him, Lagos was nothing. So the way you couch your messaging creates the impression of, an entity that does not have too much integrity embedded in it. I mean, there's no doubt that Tinubu did a lot of things good while a governor. But you can frame a messaging that does not dwell too much on hype and dwell on his strength. And he does have some good strength. That's one thing about the way Garuba and Femi Adesina write sometimes. And sometimes people say the messenger is the message. If you turn something written by, I'm sorry to mention FFK, people will just turn over it. If it's written by some people, you say, I know already what he's going to say. I'm sorry, if Lai Mohammed wants to come and make a presentation, you know the conclusion. So this is the thing we need to see.
Yeah, and it appears that when APC was in opposition, it did better in terms of public communication.
We need a change.
Than being in government.
You don't have to give us the impression that if you come into the power, what you have to go is, if anybody criticizes you as the president, they will probably come and arrest you for insulting the president. Or they use unprintable expletives as Femi Fani-Kayode does.
To the extent that if someone has some good suggestion,
just say, go and sit down, imbecile, this and why will an adult, an elder, be allowed to be saying something? And you bring him very close to your party.
So I'll come to you. It looks like the APC has a public communication problem in government and during the campaigns. How do you intend to go ahead and reply in some of your critics without looking like you have a personal issue? I mean, just like he has pointed out, Obasanjo said, yes, the APC seem to have put people into hell.
And you don't want the spokespeople of the president to reply that?
Yeah, I mean, could you have, I'm just saying that, could you be in the government
Prof,
because more
Prof
power is in your hands?
Let me tell you, with all
could
due
you have
respect,
replied him in a better way?
On one hand, Prof is saying a couple of people in the government are saying some things derogatory to opposition. On the other hand, he's saying it is okay that Obasanjo is yanking the government. Why? Because he's not in government.
No, that's not what we say.
You can't call a government a hell. You can't call Nigeria a hell as of today.
My brother, what I said is that you can still interrogate.
You're saying it's okay for Obasanjo to criticize and say what he wants to say. But it's not good for the spokespeople of the president to reply Obasanjo the way they replied him.
Well, I think the angle he's trying to come is that, look, as an elder statesman,
so we should just listen to him.
Obasanjo, there's a particular level of respect that you desire that should be given to President Buhari when he leaves power.
I also desire it should be given.
So
I also should
what
desire
he's saying that if you need that respect
excuse me.
Just hold
Buhari
on.
will not be an Obasanjo.
When Buhari leaves, that you should put that sort of, thinking into context.
He has told you.
Told
you that he's even retiring in Daura because he doesn't want to have problems.
But what if
the problem with Obasanjo is you were in government. You were at the helm of affair of this country. You didn't do all these things you're saying. You had 8 years, and messed them up. Struggling with third term, struggling with your vice president, and struggling with third term. You couldn't do anything that this government of Buhari has done.
Now, what if
he has not done anything apart from looting?
Also intervene in government? Would you be happy if the presidency of the next coming government attacks a Buhari like that?
It's not attack. If Buhari attacks the next coming government the way Obasanjo is attacking, the spokespeople of the next government would attack him.
Well, there's a finesse that comes with
Buhari is not that kind of
presidency.
The Buhari is not that kind of
that's what he's
statesman.
saying.
He will not be that person.
Okay, but
honestly,
let's take a look at what's coming out as you try to sell your message to Nigerians to vote for you and your candidate on April 25th. Can there be a way whereby your communication can be much more improved so that people don't think that even when they have suggestions for you as a governing party, that if they tell you that you go ahead throwing darts and arrows and everything against them?
But we can't see or hear people insult us or say things derogatory against us or our candidate. If I, Alwan, can keep calm as maybe a gentleman, some other people cannot do that in the party.
Yeah, but the presidency is a very powerful institution that goes beyond the occupant.
But there is a PCC, Presidential Campaign Committee. And their mandate as the media Presidential Campaign Committee is to pick up all those things and make a reply. There is no way we'll close our ears listening to people insulting our candidates based on lies and just because of hate. You don't even bring out issues to criticize him. No.
Yeah, I mean, you have a right of reply to actually do that. But let's take a look at the issues of health, that Nigeria has become a hellhole under the APC. What do you think Obasanjo was trying to aim at by such a statement?
It's just frustrations. Yes. And just as you said, there wouldn't be any other person that will do what Obasanjo and Buhari did. Obasanjo never wanted anybody to do what he did. He was a president in 79, and he was a president. He was head of state, and he's president of 8 years. He never wanted anybody to do what he has done in Nigeria. That is his pain.
Well,
and Buhari has done. And let me tell you. And let me tell you. Okay. Let me tell you. Sometimes in 2015, 2016, when the railway issue started, when Amechi brought up the railway issues and Obasanjo heard. Do you know that Obasanjo went to the president and told him to not to start this? That you can't even end it.
Well, we can't confirm
you can't
that.
Finish it. But I'm telling you, the president, Obasanjo is alive. He didn't want him to do it. I swear.
And why would they want to?
Because he doesn't want him to take credit of what he couldn't do. He spent a lot of money in railway and it went down the drain. Just as Atiku said about power. He spent a lot of money.
Okay, now how can you make things better?
And he couldn't do it.
As we head to the election, so that Nigerians don't see you attacking people more, but
selling your message.
Selling your message. Because this same Obasanjo, your team, your presidential candidate, went to visit him, trying to seek his endorsement. Unfortunately, he decided to give it to someone else.
Did we tell you we wanted his endorsement?
So what did you go to Obasanjo to meet him for?
His age, an elder statesman. We thought he has changed. We thought he has changed. We didn't know that he's still the person we knew. We knew. So it's always morally right for every candidate contesting for a president to visit this couple of people.
Oh, okay.
Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, who is not careless, an elder statesman, Obasanjo, that happens to create nuisance on his own,
Well,
so,
if
it's
call
good
it that
for you
way.
to now go around and get some words of advice, even in the campaign trail. How do I do this? How do I do? I've done this, I've done that. We even God sees when he keeps somebody like an Obasanjo at that age, he's keeping him as an encyclopedia.
All right. And to be very fair to your candidate, it's not the only one that went to visit Obasanjo. Peter Obi,
everybody
Abubakar, they've been going.
Yes.
Okay, so as we try to round off this conversation, Prof, tell us how we can help to ensure that the public rhetoric among our politicians does not become so heightened in the next 7 weeks that's left, that people begin to resort to self-help, get into political, brigandage and all of that, and it becomes a problem for election day.
Actually, if you read that Obasanjo letter, he gave a lot of credit to the politicians for behaving reasonably well.
Yeah. I read
and if you watch Peter Obi, if you watch Atiku, they are very dignified. Tinubu and Shetima, sometimes they give yabis, but that's only them. Their surrogates can speak. The problem we have are with the spokespeople. As I say, they are the ones that Festus Kenyamo has piped down now the way I look at it, because he was people you had respect for, you just thinking it's just this politics. As I mentioned, people like FFK, and I have to mention their names, people like FFK.
Yeah, but how about the PDP and NMPP or Labour Party?
I'm saying
Don't
all of
they
them,
have others?
Okonkwo and the rest of them, they are the ones that are carrying it on their shoulders.
It looks like Prof is anti-APC.
Well, no, he's been paying more attention.
No,
It could be that he's been paying more attention to the APC.
we are reviewing.
And they are his friends.
We are reviewing the letters. So what I'm trying to say is that, you know, I've given credit. We gave credit to, you know, Tinubu, but the truth is that most of the hitting of the polity comes from the spokespeople.
Yeah,
not from the politician. The incidence of violence has been relatively small.
All right,
So, and I think if they can rein in their spokespeople and activists, like my brother here.
Noted,
all right. Well, we must thank you so much.
Noted,
Professor Jide of Adibe is of the Department of Political Science, Nasarawa State University. Thank you for helping us understand the issues. And of course, Alwan Hassan here, always prepared, to defend your party. Well, we wish you all the best. It's left for Nigerians to actually see and assess the APC for what it is and whether it should be given an opportunity. Again, we wish you all the best. Well, that's how it's been for this edition of this week. It's less than 58 days to the presidential polls. Go get your PVC and please don't sell it, because it will just not make any meaning to whoever is buying it, according to INEC. I'm Somna Sambo. See you next week.